Breece Hall offers high upside, but James Conner and David Montgomery might be the safest running back twos to draft this upcoming season. We dig into our running back 16 through 30 rankings on today's episode of Locked On Fantasy Football.
You are Locked On Fantasy, your daily NFL fantasy podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome into the Locked On Fantasy Football Podcast. Thank you for making us your first listen every day. I'm one of your co-hosts, Michelle Magdziuk, and when I'm not doing this, I'm a researcher and fantasy analyst with NFL Network.
And I'm your other co-host, Vinnie Iyer. When I'm not doing this, I'm writing about NFL fantasy and betting for sportingnews.com.
Today, we are going to go through the rest of our running back rankings, running back 16 through 30. We hit on running backs 1 through 15 on yesterday's show. Let's just dig right into it because we left off at Marion Hampton yesterday. You have him at 15. I had him at 16. Fitting right into the top 15 for me also was Kenneth Walker at 15. But with Breece Hall, you had Breece Hall as your running back 14. I have him at running back 17. So he actually did fit into your top 15, but we didn't get to talk about him. I had him a little bit lower. So I guess technically you're lower on him even than consensus rankings because he's at running back 13. I'm much lower. What are your feelings about Breece Hall? Do you just have him there because his name and you feel like maybe he can hit it, or do you actually feel very confident about this ranking?
Yeah, this is a very hard player to rank. There's so many variables that are coming in that we didn't have last year. I mean, you have Justin Fields running quarterback. You have a whole different offense based on some of the Lions concepts, which are helpful, right? Lions did help two backs to really produce, including someone with similar skill set in Jahmyr Gibbs. So there's a lot of pros, right? Sometimes the running quarterback helps the running back, as we've seen with Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry, and he can really benefit that back. So there's a lot of pros, and the Breece Hall talent is there. The real question is, does he put it all together? Like, he's teased us with his talent. He had the unfortunate knee injury when he was a rookie. I think he's been a hyper version of Javonte Williams, where he's actually been productive. Javonte Williams with the knee injury just hasn't been reliable for us in fantasy. Well, Breece Hall has definitely had flashes of being a very effective back. So I want to lean toward a little bit more of the talent, the environment, and the usage that will help Breece Hall produce. But there are some factors, right? How much does Fields cut into the running game? How much do the other backs that they've kind of cycled through a bunch of young dudes that no one has really stepped up in a key role? How much do they factor in, right? So I think what's clouding this is I think the Jets are a bit of a secret here in terms of how things are going to unravel with their offense post Aaron Rodgers with Justin Fields, with all these weapons, and they still could make a move, right, to add a receiver, but that's also what I look at. There's not a lot of receivers after Garrett Wilson, so I'm trying to put that all into a mix, Michelle, and mold out of clay a running back 15, and I think if you took out his name, I think he would be a higher running back, actually, but Breece Hall being a disappointment actually drops him down for me.
Yeah, I guess that's fair. He was running back 17 total last year, total points, running back 18 on average. So I have him pretty much staying the same. He only had 5 rushing touchdowns last year, so that definitely could increase. It's just how much does Justin Fields and the new coaches actually fix this Jets offense right away? Will there be more scoring opportunities? And then he had so many targets last year, 76 targets, third most among running backs. That should go down with Justin Fields there, unfortunately. And so those are all things that worry me, and that's why I'm keeping him down. Now, for your running back 16, you have Chuba Hubbard there, which I thought was pretty high overall. I have him much lower. I have him at running back 22. My concerns with him is just that how much playing time he got last year, especially once we saw, just everyone just getting injured around him and them just totally giving up on Miles Sanders and all of that with the Panthers backfield. But week 6 through 16, he played nearly 85% of the team offensive snaps. They did sign Rico Dowdle in free agency. I think he's going to be involved. They drafted a running back, Trevor Etienne, in the 4th round. I doubt Jonathan Brooks will be back anytime soon, but who knows? And so much of his points last year came in 4 games. He scored 25 points per game in the 4 games. He had at least 25 touches, and only 11.2 points per game in 11 games. He had fewer than 25 touches. 25 touches is so much. So that's why I have him lower. Why are you feeling good about Hubbard for this upcoming year?
Well, I think they had to look at their offense and say, look, it's on an upward trajectory. And Chuba Hubbard got a mini contract extension there. They kind of rewarded him for being on the field and doing all the things that Dave Canales asked for that offense. So there were some signs of this offense putting it all together. The thing that they were missing, they went out and got a rookie top wide receiver, Terrell McMillan. So this offense seems a little bit more streamlined, right? And seems more legitimate overall, that they might know what they are doing for a change with Canals taking over. And look, it was a tough transition. You had one and done with Frank Reich, and you had to figure that out. And last year was just kind of everyone's resetting mentally as well as physically. So I think they found out Hubbard. And look, if you go back to Oklahoma State, and he was a top recruit from Canada. Like, this is the type of talent he did have there. So he was a capable back with pretty good volume. And I think they're going to trust him more and more. Like, it's not like these are real competitive guys. Like Dowdle, he was okay. He was just a plug and play for what the Cowboys needed because they didn't really have any other options last year. And then you look at Etienne, okay, they took a late round shot. Him and Brooks, they're not counting on. So everything says that Hubbard, he's going to see the key touches in this offense, and he's versatile. And I think this offense, again, the arrow's pointing up. And if he's going to get to around 20 touches per game, you're looking at a pretty good spot for him to produce. So, again, everything's pointing up for the Panthers. I have vibes with them that are more positive than I have with some other offenses.
Now, after Hubbard for you, you have Alvin Kamara at running back 17, which we talked about yesterday. Kenneth Walker at running back 18. DeAndre Swift at 19, which we'll get to here in a little bit. Then James Conner at 20, David Montgomery at 21. I have James Conner 18 and then David Montgomery at 19 after I have Breece Hall at 17. I think that Conner and Montgomery are probably two of the safer draft picks in the whole draft, but a really, really super safe draft pick for your running back 2 spot, especially with just where they're going. I mean, James Conner has averaged 14.6 points per game since joining the Cardinals 4 seasons ago. Over that 4-season span, he ranks 9th in fantasy points per game among the running back position. He hasn't finished worse than the running back 15 in average in any of those 4 seasons, while finishing as the running back 11 last year. So I getting older, but I still think he's a really safe, great value. And then with David Montgomery, I mean, before he got injured in week 15 last year, he was the running back 10 in average scoring. I mean, he wasn't scoring all that less than Jahmyr Gibbs during that span. It was 15.3 points per game for Montgomery, Gibbs at 16.9. Montgomery has scored at least 12 touchdowns each of the last 2 years, has finished as a top 15 running back in those last 2 years, despite, missing out on so much work to Gibbs. And he leads the NFL in carries inside opponents' 5-yard lines over the last 2 seasons, despite missing 6 games during that span. I think Montgomery's a super, super safe guy. I mean, I might even put Montgomery over Conner. It's just Conner, the workload is safer for him.
Yeah, I just think Montgomery, I mean, it's happened, and we've seen it before with some guys like this. I mean, to the extreme was Raheem Mostert, scoring at a very exceptionally high rate. And there were a lot of games where David Montgomery needed that touchdown to come through in a lot of these productive moments that he had last season. So I just don't see how I can point the arrow up on Montgomery. I think I have to taper him off a little bit in the RB2s based on his role and usage. Again, I think we can't discount the fact that there was a perfect usage of both these guys with Ben Johnson, and it's going to be a little bit more imperfect this year with the way they use them. And look, if I was just on the surface and say who's going to give me more dynamic plays, you'd say it's Jahmyr Gibbs, right? And why would I want to take him out at the 5-yard line as much, right? So, I mean, I would look at it a different way if I'm not Ben Johnson, right? Ben Johnson's just an exceptional play caller using everyone. And again, with David Montgomery, I think the fade could happen a little bit if he's not going to get enough of those scoring opportunities. That's where I stand. With James Conner, look, he's there. I'm not spectacularly invested in him. Like, it's very different to me. I mean, it's not very different to me, I should say. You have James Conner at 18, James Conner 20. He's solid, not spectacular. I think if you're solid, not spectacular, you're smack dab in the middle of RB2s, and that's where he's at.
Now, we have a few more guys to discuss here that are interesting topics that we differ about some of them. Tony Pollard, I have higher than you do. You have DeAndre Swift higher than I do. So we'll get through the rest of our rankings and the reasons why we have these guys drafted where they are right after a quick break.
This episode is presented by Yahoo Fantasy. It's the best time of the year. NFL kickoff is almost here. That means fantasy football season is back in full swing. And this year, Yahoo Fantasy is turning things up with a fantasy football experience like never before. This year, me and Michelle are playing on Yahoo Fantasy, and you should too, whether you're a first-timer or veteran making your millionth league. That's about where I am at, to 20-plus years experience. I've used them for years, and the updates they're rolling out this month are wild in the best way. One of my favorite features, the new guillotine leagues. Yep, they really pumped that out, and they just dropped it every week. The low-scoring team is eliminated, and the last one standing wins. So that's a fun, different way to play fantasy football that they're introducing here on the site to streamline things. So whether you're all in on something new or sticking to head-to-head leagues or jumping into public leagues, Yahoo's got you covered. To celebrate 28 years of fantasy football greatness, Yahoo Fantasy is dropping 28 big new features over 28 days throughout August. To kick it off, they just dropped Yahoo Fantasy Guillotine Leagues. Again, a killer new way to play fantasy football at Yahoo, where the low-scoring team gets eliminated each week, and there's one left standing at the end. With the season around the corner, now's the time to get your league together and give this new mode a try. If you're more into the classic, you can still play head-to-head private leagues or join a public league. Stay tuned for more killer announcements and start playing Yahoo Fantasy Football now at yahoofantasy.com/lockedonnfl. All right, Michelle, let us dive into more of our 16 to 30-ish rankings here in fantasy football. Now, Tony Pollard, he's a bit of a polarizing guy for us. You have him at RB20. I'm at RB25, perhaps a little bit worried about, again, the transition of this offense and what they might do to diversify the backfield. Why do you have Tony Pollard at RB20?
Yeah, so he was a running back 21 last year, and he did that on one of the worst offenses in the league, scoring only 5 touchdowns all season long. So I do think just the addition of Cam Ward should help keep this offense on the field more often, and then get him more scoring opportunities too. And Pollard did see 14 of the team's 21 running back rushing attempts inside opponents' 10-yard line last season. So he was their goal line back. And there was inconsistent usage for Pollard throughout the season, but in the 11 games that he did see at least 10 carries, he averaged 99 scrimmage yards per game and 13.6 fantasy points per game. It's somehow he had 301 touches last season, right? I know people want Tajay Spears to be a thing. I just don't see where this usage really changes for him, especially if this offense is a little bit better and they're able to stay on the field more and give Pollard actually more rushing opportunities, just give the team more rushing opportunities. So I think I'm only moving up one spot from last year, and I think he could be actually a really, really sneaky great value in drafts this year.
Yeah, I like the concept of Tony Pollard. I don't know if the Titans are going to give us the execution we want on Tony Pollard. That's the problem I have, is like they're going to get cute, and I may not want to put in Spears, but I think they're going to try to do this, diversify things. Cam Ward can also take off and run, and they might use him with his big body more in the red zone as well. So these are just minor concerns. Again, I don't have him that far down below you. I just, what I have him ranked is saying, okay, I'm just outside of the RB2s. I'd rather have him as a flex play. I'd feel a little bit more comfortable with that. So that's how I kind of stand on Tony Pollard. Now, kind of flipped here, that you're kind of borderline on this guy as being an RB2. I'm pretty much saying he's going to be right there. I have him ahead of James Conner and David Montgomery. It's DeAndre Swift. Now, people are trying to find ways to bring down DeAndre Swift. It is funny to me because I was looking at Kyle Monaghan, or whatever. The rookie is being talked up as he's going to steal the goal line carries. He's going to be the guy that they're going to finish all their drives with, ahead of like Roschon Johnson, DeAndre Swift. Swift has got limitations. He's not going to do it. But again, Ben Johnson, the effect is going to be felt somewhere. If we're worried about Ben Johnson having some negative effect on the Lions, then we should be a lot more interested on all the positive effects he has on the Bears. So again, Ben Johnson knows how to use running backs and play them to their strengths. And I think Swift has been miscast a little bit. Everyone tries to take him. Oh, he's a fast guy. Maybe his last name says he should be quick in open field and receiver, but he's capable of handling a load. We saw that in Philadelphia. He didn't do it a lot when he had the opportunities there, but when they gave him volume, he could do it. So I think, again, this backfield they could have had different ways of adding a running back, and they didn't do that until Monarch. So they're looking at some of the guys on that first round, second round grade. They didn't go after any of them. So that tells you they probably had a little bit of less a concern that DeAndre Swift can handle multiple roles in this offense. Look, he's going to be spelled a little bit, but I'm just excited about Swift, and really the whole Ben Johnson thing, just intrigued with possibilities here and how much better the Bears can be offensively.
Yeah, with Swift, it's hard because I felt like at the beginning of the offseason, especially once they got Ben Johnson and they didn't draft a running back, I was getting high on Swift. I've come back down a little bit now. He's my running back 24. He had 295 touches last year. We'll see if he can repeat that. Only 52 targets, which I do expect that to increase for him this upcoming year with Ben Johnson there, with how they should utilize him. But I don't know if DeAndre Swift's actually a good running back. That's my issue, right?
Yeah.
When we saw what Saquon Barkley just did with the Eagles 1 year after Swift, like, yeah, Swift's best year was with the Eagles, but still only had 5 rushing touchdowns, right? He's not a touchdown guy. He never has been throughout his career. And I am a little bit worried that Kyle Managai in the 7th round, they are talking him up. And Ben Johnson loves multiple running backs, right? He wants to utilize multiple running backs. So if Swift doesn't get as many touches as last year, that's why I have him down a little bit. And I can't put him top 20, but I'm okay with him at running back 24. Now, we both have Kaleb Johnson, as I have him at running back 21. You have him at 22, but he is both our next rookie running back in our rankings outside of Ashton Genty and Omarion Hampton. And I mean, that's not how the NFL draft, right? Kaleb Johnson didn't go to the 3rd round, but his opportunity with the Steelers, it's hard to find a rookie to get this opportunity to walk into a situation like this. Najee Harris is gone. He had the 7th most carries in the NFL last year. Najee Harris did. And Najee Harris was inefficient with his work, right? He always has been. But is that a Najee Harris issue? Is that a Steelers issue? Maybe a little bit of both. But even Najee Harris last year with a bad inefficiency, he was running back 25 in average scoring. So it's not like we have him ranked that much higher. Again, I have Johnson at running back 21. You have him at 22. The Steelers averaged the 4th most carries per game last year. And the 3 teams ahead of them were the Eagles, Ravens, and Lions, who all had the top 3 fantasy running backs in the NFL last season. So I just think there'll be more scoring opportunities too with Aaron Rodgers there. So I really like Kaleb Johnson. I think Jaylen Warren is just that great change of pace guy. I don't think he should be a workhorse type of player.
Yeah, and look, we've dumped on Arthur Smith a lot for his work with the Falcons and not getting Kyle Pitts involved in the way he was working Bijan Robinson early, right? But we go back again. I'm taking it back again to Tennessee, where he did have success and he had a power back. Look, I'm not saying Kaleb Johnson is going to be Derrick Henry for him, but some of the concepts that are there are going to be there. And I'm talking about the Ryan Tannehill era, where you had one field stretching receiver at A.J. Brown, right, and playing off that and running the ball, right? So I think this is what this offense is based on: throwing deep to DK Metcalf, throwing a lot of underneath balls, having the 2 tight ends that are out there. Because Jonas Smith was underrated, I think, as a blocker last year. So you have Pat Freiermuth, Jonas Smith, you have 1 receiver out there, 12 personnel, and you're either pounding the ball or you're playing off that play action, getting it deep with Aaron Rodgers to Metcalf and maybe Calvin Austin using his speed a few times, right? So I think the bread and butter, again, this is more molded. Again, Arthur Smith is there, but it's more molded in the image of Mike Tomlin. He wants to be a running team, tough, get the tough yards, run well. Kaleb Johnson is a perfect back for that. And look, Jaylen Warren is going to get his share of touches, but they're going to love Kaleb Johnson. He's going to get the key goal line work as well. He's not a zero on passing downs either, so he'll be out there on occasion. So, again, I feel really good about Kaleb Johnson, at least as a top 24. I mean, I think you're just maybe overrating Jaylen Warren or maybe overrating the issues in the Steelers' offense when you drop them down below that.
Yeah, and I'll say this is kind of the part where it starts to get tougher looking at the running back rankings. A lot of question marks, and Kaleb Johnson is a part of that group where is question marks. But so after Kaleb Johnson at running back 22 for you, you have RJ Harvey at running back 23. You're sticking strong with the rookie in Denver, still getting a big workload, even though they signed J.K. Dobbins. I have RJ Harvey down at 28. It might not seem that big of a difference, but like I have guys like Joe Mixon and Travis Etienne, Isaiah Pacheco, and Aaron Jones over Harvey. Well, you have Harvey over all of them. So why are you sticking strong with Harvey, even though we might be worried that J.K. Dobbins could steal a bunch of work?
Yeah, there's two things that I really love in fantasy. It's just youthful upside, rookie players that have a great skill set, and then the scheme or the play callers that can maximize the skill set. And I think between Sean Payton and Joe Lombardi, they have that. They want to be more effective at running the ball, right? I mean, Javonte Williams was a disappointment. They tried to fit maybe a square peg in a round hole in what they were trying to do. And plus, he wasn't the same, right? He didn't have the same zip coming off those injuries. You weren't going to have that same zip. And I think we saw that with Javonte Williams. Like, he was so much more explosive before. So now they get some fresh legs in this offense. And it's an ascending offense, right, overall, that, again, they want to take some pressure off Bo Nix. They don't want him chucking like 65% of the time. They don't really want that in this offense. They got Cortland Sutton, okay, they got Evan Ingram, but that's not what this team is really built to do. They have a good offensive line. They have good run blocking grades. They want to run the ball more efficiently and better. And then RJ Harvey has a little bit of Alvin Kamara type qualities here. So J.K. Dobbins is also impossible to trust to stay healthy at this rate. So, I mean, he got into camp or preseason work, whatever, later. And then so they've held on to Harvey. They just realized, look, we might need a little bit more insurance, right? So I think that's how they approach it. Let's get Dobbins. He's out there. He can handle our scheme and maybe plug and play. But Dobbins is not a big pass catcher. So there's a lot of role open for RJ Harvey in this particular offense. And I think, again, they're just feeling their way around Bo Nix and some of their weapons here after they kind of were ahead of the learning curve last year.
Yeah, we let's get through the rest of these running back rankings for this upcoming season. But first, we have to hear from one of our sponsors. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all my money go? Between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in. Your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app. It's a complete financial command center. You can track all of your accounts, investments, and spending in one place, so you stop just managing your money and start building wealth. When I started using Monarch, I realized just how much I was spending on food delivery. Now I budget smarter and save more. Plus, managing money with my partner has never been smoother. We're able to track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONNFL at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONNFL for half off your first year. All right, let's finish up our running back rankings. We went through all of the guys pretty much in our top 23 at this point. You ended here with DeAndre Swift at 19, James Conner at 20, David Montgomery at 21, Kaleb Johnson at 22, and RJ Harvey at 23. I had James Conner 18, Montgomery 19, Tony Pollard 20, Kaleb Johnson 21, Chuba Hubbard 22. And now you might be wondering, where in the world is Joe Mixon? He's finally come up for both of us. I have him at running back 23. You have him at running back 24. He's moving down rankings, I'll say, pretty drastically. Last year, he's running back 13 in total points, running back 9 average. The team signed Nick Chubb this offseason. He's already dealing with an ankle/foot injury this preseason, expected to miss multiple weeks. He has so many carries on his body throughout his career. And we just saw the drop off at the end of last year that could kind of scare us. Offensive line concerns. There's a lot of worries when it comes to Joe Mixon.
Yeah, I think there's an obvious drop off when you were worried about all injury, attrition, blocking, all the above, and maybe a slightly different direction of the offense as well. So, and Nick Chubb can cut into a lot of what he does in terms of scoring or the early downs. Then we'll see what happens. But again, he's just not exciting to take. You're taking him because you're taking him. Last year, I think there was a little bit of value to be had only because, again, they needed it back and the Texans had to use him quite a bit, right? But this year they got some options. It's a different offense. All the vibes and things are pointing away from Joe Mixon. So again, it's not a terrible pick if he's the last RB2 on the board for you or around there. But again, I wouldn't expect too much there. Nothing close to duplicating last year's pretty high production.
To round out our top 30 running backs, these are my running back ranks, running backs 25 through 30. It goes Travis Etienne, Isaiah Pacheco, Aaron Jones, RJ Harvey, Tyrone Tracy Jr., and Brian Robinson Jr. Your 25 through 30 goes Tony Pollard, Travis Etienne, Trayvon Henderson, the rookie with the Patriots, Aaron Jones, Brian Robinson Jr., and Tyrone Tracy Jr. So you do have Isaiah Pacheco just outside there at running back 31, which we're both seemingly pretty low on Pacheco this upcoming year. But I thought what was really interesting is that I must have talked you into Travis Etienne, right? Because he's moving up our ranks. He's running back 25 for me, running back 26 for you, much higher than consensus rankings. He's sitting at running back 32. Have I talked you into him, or are you hearing something that has now changed your mind a little bit?
Well, I'm trying to figure out why we don't like Travis Etienne, and I couldn't find any concrete evidence. It's kind of like similar to what we saw with the DeAndre Swift. Is like we want to find not Travis Etienne on this team, and we tried to do that with Tank Bigsby. Now I'm reading a lot about Bashal Tuten, who they got from Virginia Tech. Like, I think people just forget that Etienne, as you have mentioned many times on the show, was an RB1 just a couple years ago. And the direction of this offense should be positive, right? If you look at the skill set that Liam Cohen covets, Travis Etienne seemingly would have it, right? If you're looking at who's more comparable to Bucky Irving / Rashad White, you put together Etienne's skill set, and he is resembling both of these Bucks backs with different capacities, right? And Tootin, again, is a smaller guy. I don't know if he can hold up. Tank Bigsby has proved like he can't hold up. So this new offense, I think, was a great development for Travis Etienne. It's not like we're banging the table to go get him as a starter. We're just saying of the Jaguars backs, I mean, if the Jaguars offense is going to be improved, you want the guy that's probably going to be touching the ball in the best high leverage situations on your team a little bit late as a flex. So I think he's a really good value right now as a flex play. Look, it could all go south and Bigsby and Tootin could blow this up, but I don't see that necessarily. I think, again, everything with the Jaguars should be pointing up with Liam Cohen.
It really should be. I think Travis Etienne is being overlooked. Like you said, he was a running back 3 overall in 2023. We're 1 year removed. It was a disaster. Yeah. Like, I don't know why Etienne is I feel like the only one getting hated on for what a disaster the Jaguars backfield was last year, but people want to say Bigsby could be something. It's like they're both really, really bad last year. And what we have seen is Etienne have a top 5 season. Bigsby's never going to be that. So I like Etienne where he's going in drafts, and I'm comfortable even taking him a little bit ahead of where he's going as well. Now, to finish up our talk here about these running back rankings, you have Trayvon Henderson as your running back 27. He is out of my top 30, but I did want to hear, maybe I should have him top 30. My concerns are that he's a smaller back. He never really had a large workload in college. He's now going to be playing behind one of the worst run blocking offensive lines in the league. At least they were the worst run blocking team last year. Maybe with their changes, they get a little bit better. Maybe with McDaniels there, their system's better. But I just worry that he's not going to get the goal line opportunities, the few that they might have in this offense. And he's going to need a lot of targets. Maybe if Antonio Gibson gets cut, I'll feel better about it. But Gibson's still there. Ramondre Stevenson's still there. It just seems really crowded.
Yeah, I mean, the funny thing is, I think I'm even lower than the consensus industry on Trayvon Henderson. Like, people have been going nuts to the point they're putting him above Kaleb Johnson. I do not see that at all. I'm like, that doesn't compute to me because, again, the problem with Trayvon Henderson, and I want to like him more than where I've had him. I like the talent. But the problem is, he has a kind of redundant skill set with Antonio Gibson and to some degree Stevenson, who's proved he could be a pretty good receiver as well. Now, I don't think they're going to force Stevenson back into a receiving role anytime soon, but Henderson is the change of pace back receiving. So it really comes down, does he get the red zone work? Does he get some of the early down work? And does Josh McDaniels blow up from what we had before in between when McDaniels left and now he came back? He didn't like what he saw. Is he going to be able to fix the running game and keep it going here? So I think Henderson's getting drafted pretty highly for a couple reasons here. He was on a high-profile championship team at Ohio State, and Quinshon Judkins has dropped off for other reasons, his whole backfield mate. And then he was on the Patriots. There's a lot of buzz about the Patriots, right, of where they're going to go. Just be careful about drafting him. Stevenson is just not going to go away and fade away, but I can see the upside with Henderson. So he's more of an upside stash versus, I'm going to play him as a flex. No, you can't trust him that way. He's more of an high upside player that I'm putting in, but clearly I don't trust him to see the significant touches I need from a rookie the way I do with Kaleb Johnson or RJ Harvey behind Ashton Jeanty or Marion Hampton.
That will be it for today's episode and our running back rankings. We'll be getting into our wide receiver rankings starting tomorrow and doing 3 straight shows on our wide receiver rankings. So don't miss that. I want to thank you all for making Locked On Fantasy Football your first listen today. For your second listen, check out Locked On Bets. Betting experts Lee Sterling and Kevin Rogers have daily MLB locks and can't miss football futures. Find Locked On Bets on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. Talk to you tomorrow. Bye, y'all.